Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. On 9/11, I was a first responder with the fire department, and I was off duty at home on Staten Island, and I could witness the events unfolding. So I had my son give me a ride so I could catch the ferry and get in as quickly as I could, because I knew that every first responder would be expected to respond to help. And when I got on the ferry, I would say there was about 80 firefighters in total. And we were on our way across. We witnessed the tower collapse. We came in at South Ferry. Very difficult to get off the ferry. Many people trying to get on the ferry. My first assignment was right here on West Street and Liberty Street, protecting one of the buildings that remained standing nearby. Somewhere in the afternoon, maybe 4 o'clock or so, I tried to find a working phone. I found a bank. I had to call home. My wife was gone to work that morning in Lower Manhattan, as well as my sons-in-law. I did get hold of my wife. She told me that she had a difficult time. She thought it was a ticker tape parade at first. Then trying to get on the ferry to leave, to go back to Staten Island. It was very difficult getting on with so many people. She assured me that my 2 sons-in-law were home. They were safe. She said, however, your 2 nephews are unaccounted for. So I said, well, listen, be hopeful. I'm here. I'll stay here as long as I can until I find something out. And during that period of time, I witnessed things that I really never expected to witness. I met fellow firefighters looking for their firefighting sons, searching for them. Maybe the first night, in the middle of the night, we had a group of firefighters. We were trying to go through some of the debris. Someone's calling me from behind the barriers that were being set up. A lot of activity going on. I turn around, and this young woman is calling me. She's wearing a police blazer with a detective logo on it. So I motioned me. She said, yes, come here, come here. So I go over to the barriers, and she goes, what's your telephone number? I said, my telephone number? She said, I want to call your wife and make sure I'll make sure that she knows you're okay, and I want you to make sure that all the firefighters' families know they're okay. I said, well, I already checked. Everybody made contact. Everything is good. She goes, well, what's your telephone number? So I tell her my telephone number. There was very little cell phone service. A lot of people might not remember that, for those who had cell phones. So she's talking. She calls me over. She gives me the phone. I talk to my wife. I give her back the phone. She's talking to my wife. She closes the phone, and she goes, come here. I said, what is it? She goes, come here. So I go up close, and she puts a hand on the back of my head, and she kisses me on the lips, and she says, your wife said to give you a kiss goodnight and to be careful. So I didn't expect that, and I joke with my son once in a while, and I tell him, if your mother only knew how many more times I asked her to call home that night. But that was just the first, and maybe 2 or 3 nights later, very similar situation. Someone's trying to get my attention. Finally, firefighter gear has your name on the back of your coat. Somebody's tugging on my coat. I turn around. What is it? There's a fellow in an orange jumpsuit. What is it? A lot of noise, cranes being set up, all kinds of activity. So what do you want? So I realized he's trying to speak English. He can't speak English. He turns around. On the back of his orange jumpsuit, it says Mexico City Fire Department. And he said, Jefe, Chief, I drove 56 hours to get here. Please, please, put me to work. Give me something to do. It was just things like that I will never forget. I stayed till the 6th day, and I finally realized it was time to go home. I had to cut my boots off because my feet were so swollen. I washed my clothes in a nearby firehouse, the ones that I was wearing, and I went home to visit my nephew's family. I worked exclusively at the site for the next 2 months, and in about October, I was notified of the recovery of Lieutenant Peter Freund from 55 Engine, who had perished that day. And in November, I was notified of the recovery of firefighter Timothy McSweeney from ladder 3. That's the ladder that's downstairs that's crushed in the front. He wrote it down that day. I don't know if you saw it. And I had to notify their families. They each had a wife and 3 children, but they were recovered. They had them. They were the 2 nephews that I was looking for. They were both recovered in the North Tower. I don't know if they saw each other that day. They were recovered maybe 3 weeks apart. That was the same tower that my own son worked in, the one that gave me a ride to the ferry that day. He worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, who lost all their employees. But the good news for him and for me, he left in 2000 for another job, and I really wasn't happy about it. But that's just a little bit of the things that I witnessed on those first 6 days, and like I said, I worked there 2 more months, and then for the remainder of the recovery, I came back many times on the weekends and in the evenings, and then lo and behold, in May of 2000 or so, 2002, excuse me, at the end of the recovery period, May or June, I got this phone call. I was at work in the office, and it was the representative from the High School of Economics and Finance. That high school is right here. It's about a block and a half south of the World Trade Center. I don't know if anyone is familiar with it, but they asked me if I could provide a fire truck. They wanted to do something special. Their students were graduating, and they had lived through that whole year going to school, but they also were evacuated that day, and they behaved in a very admirable way, evacuating through all that was going on and the collapses, whatever. So they wanted a fire department presence. I said, no problem. They said, oh, yes, we're going to have Mayor Bloomberg. He's going to be the keynote speaker, and the graduation event is going to be held at Trinity Church. I said, well, that's great. I said, I'll even come myself. I'll even put my uniform on. I'll even get an honor guard. I said, it'd be a good way to get out of the office. So maybe 2 days before the event, I get a call, Mayor Bloomberg can't make it. Can you be the speaker? So I said, can I be the speaker? I said, I'll do whatever it takes. I said, I'll be happy to try to do it. But looking back at my high school days, I'm sure my high school speech teacher right now, if he would be able to be here, right, he would get some kick out of that. But I said, now what can I tell these young people? I thought about when I was 17 or 18. I stayed up all night. I had sheets and sheets of longhand written notes, probably only converted to 5 or 10 minutes of speaking time. But the topic that I did pick was, I told them that when I was their age, I really wasn't concerned about what other people expected of me at 17 or 18. I said, but you're going to have to think about what people expect of you and what's expected of you in your lifetime. I said, you know, those people went to work that day. I said, you students even evacuated. That was expected of you in an orderly manner, and you did it successfully. I said, and the people that went to work that day in the World Trade Center, certainly their employees expected them to be there, as well as their families, to earn a living, to take care of them. I said, so you got to think about what's expected of you. I said, and when things were going bad and the people in those buildings needed help, they expected first responders to come. And they did come, and they did do what was expected of them. And the best way to spell that 4-letter word help on that particular day was PAPD, NYPD, and FDNY. I was never more proud to be wearing my uniform than that day in the pulpit of Trinity Church. And in that spirit, I retired in 2005 after more than 40 years for the city of New York. And in that spirit, I witnessed of recovery. There were so many people that came to help, so many volunteers, that now I've said I felt like Tick-Tock the crocodile and Peter Pan, that clock ticking and ticking. All I want to try to do is help and volunteer. One of the reasons I'm here now, to pay back because of what I witnessed and what was done for the city of New York. That's New York. I mean, excuse me. I was born in Brooklyn, in case you didn't pick that up yet. But I thank you very much. And I did have some notes. You know, a guy like me, not a public speaker, but they're somewhere stuck in the machine in security outside. So I hope I got everything across that you were expecting. All right? We have to take care of ourselves, yes, but we have to take care of each other. Don't forget it, okay? Thank you.